Are you sure it's not too big?
I like big.
Mine is small.
I know, George.
So you're not satisfied?
No, George, I just want bigger.
All right. So should we go take another look at it?
We don't need to. It has everything we could want.
Wait, it's all the way over in the annex. I mean, it's not exactly the center of town.
Exactly, George. It's a quiet home for a family that we can call our own. It's perfect.
Thank you, Stevens. Ah, Murdoch, there you are. Just give me a minute.
Stop this right.
Lads, can I have your attention, please? I have an announcement that affects you all. I've recently received word that my aunt is on her last legs back in Yorkshire. As such, the missus and I have arranged passage back to England. Therefore, a new inspector will be appointed in my absence. Murdoch, my office.
This won't be good.
Well, the inspector's hardly a soft touch, Henry. How much worse could it be?
Shut the door. Have a seat, Murdoch. I've had a word with the Chief Constable. It's the board's decision, but I've recommended you.
Recommendations have hardly made a difference in the past.
He thinks it could be different this time. Because it's only an interim position, he feels they may not pay attention.
I see. I would be honored to fill the position of inspector until you return.
Well, here's the thing, Murdoch. I'm not quite ready to tell my boys yet, but Margaret and I have been talking for some time about retiring to Yorkshire.
Retiring?
The truth is, it's more likely than not that when I get on that boat, I won't be coming back.
Oh, well, I don't know what to say, sir.
Goodbye will do just fine.
Do you really think they'll let you be inspector this time?
Well, it seems that my appointment in the interim is all but assured.
All but?
Yes, well, I realize we've been down this road before. But I can't simply stay in the same position the rest of my life. It's time for the next challenge. And at the moment, it seems that challenge has arrived.
Well, I hope it has. I'm afraid my next challenge has fallen away.
Oh?
The funding for the women's hospital has been denied.
There's always private money?
I think we've raised all we can. We needed the government to at least match some of the funding, but they've refused.
Governmental budgets are annual. There's always next year.
Perhaps. But they've made it clear. Our endeavor is not of value in their eyes. It's time to give up the dream.
Detective, there you are.
Mr. Banks, I take it you're here about the inspector position.
Indeed. I believe you know my son-in-law, the Crown Attorney.
Yes, of course. Nice to see you again, Mr. Templeton.
You as well.
Now, I know Alan once fought to have you appointed inspector, and I never stood in the way. I want you to know that. So far as I'm concerned, Catholic or Protestant, it's best man for the job.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, well, the Board of Control has spoken with the Chief Constable, and we have come to a decision. Constables, gather round, will you? It's time to introduce you to your new inspector. I'll make this brief so you can all get back to work. Your new inspector is a detective I believe you all know and have worked with. His reputation precedes him thanks to his fine work these past years. So would you please welcome your new inspector, Detective Edwards from Station House 1. Congratulations, Inspector.
It's my honor. Thank you, Mr. Banks. I very much look forward to working with all of you.
Sir, I'm so sorry.
No need to be sorry, George. These things happen.
Look, you had to expect a promotion, sir. It's more than deserved. Overdue, I would say.
Well, perhaps some things are just out of our control, George.
Perhaps some of us are never meant to move up in the world, sir. Just stay where we are until we retire or die.
Thank you, George.
Detective Murdoch? Why don't we sit down in my office? 5 minutes. Let us clear the air, Detective. I know you wanted this job. Perhaps you deserved it, but you didn't get it. If you have any grievance regarding this matter, I hope you understand when I say I don't want to hear it. I want only to get to work.
I have no grievance.
Good. It's not lost on me that I'm a younger man than yourself with less experience. Is this going to pose a problem for you, given my new position?
I don't see how it's relevant, so long as we both do our jobs.
Your former inspector had a reputation for involving himself in cases when the situation called for it. I operate no differently. Your cases will be your own, but we will work together. Understood?
Understood.
Sir, we have a call from a flop house on River Street.
Let us go to River Street, Detective. Between the two of us, we'll make short work of this. Right. It appears he was strangled with a lamp cord. Was this his room?
Apparently it was rented by a woman.
I see. Well, you know what that means.
No money in his pockets?
A robbery, then. He pays the lady for her time. She decides she wants more.
Or he refused to pay?
Entirely possible. Either way, she maneuvers him into a vulnerable position, ends his short life, and takes whatever she pleases. The price you pay for such a life? Identification?
None.
Huh.
Sirs, this chap has some information.
Oh, enlighten us.
I know exactly when the murder happened. 2:55 a.m.
How can you be so precise?
Another guest complained about the noises coming from the room. I came upstairs to check.
And he was dead when you arrived?
No. When I was on the stairs, I heard a fracas. A window broke, and then she fled.
Oh, you saw her?
No. But I heard her running out the back door.
And this was 2:55 a.m.?
To the minute.
So you saw this man and his companion when they arrived here approximately 1 hour earlier?
That's right.
And what did she look like?
Plain.
Did you get her name?
He called her Francesca.
Our killer has a name.
Sirs, I think I know this man.
Not associating with his ilk, I hope. Crabtree?
No, sir. Or, yes, actually. I believe his name is Langley. Constable Langley. Station House 3.
We believe her name is Francesca, and she may be responsible for the murder of Constable Archibald Langley. We need to find her. Ask every man, woman, and child to look at this picture. Any information will be very useful.
We know two things. She is a killer, and she is a lady of the evening. Brothels, bordellos, houses of ill repute. I want everyone in the city turned upside down. And bring them all in. And while you're at it, arrest the men visiting them. It takes two to commit a carnal sin, and we at the constabulary do not discriminate. Our killer is likely hiding in one of these dens of iniquity, and the more pressure we put on these heathens, the more likely one of her ilk will crack and tell us where she is. Now, I'm prepared to reward you for your efforts. You'll receive a bonus of 50 cents for every arrest. Now, get to it.
Sir, are you sure that's necessary?
Well, you want to find her, don't you?
Well, yes, of course, but...
Perhaps so many lads on the one case is not the best use of resources. I mean, give us 24 hours to find this Francesca, and maybe all this won't be necessary.
It may not be necessary for finding our killer, but it is necessary nonetheless. Look at this. Toronto is rotten to the core. It's time to clean it up.
Mr. Langley's cause of death is asphyxiation, but he also has a significant wound on the back of his head.
Recent?
Very. From the severity, I would guess he was dazed or unconscious when he was strangled.
What could have caused that?
It's impossible to say. Something blunt, perhaps the floor or a wall, anything.
Not inconsistent with our findings.
But this may be. He was not killed with the cord that was around his neck.
You said asphyxiation.
Indeed, but with something thicker. Whatever killed him was most likely leather, 1 inch wide.
belt or a strap?
I'll leave that to you.
Higgins, who are those lads?
Men Edwards brought over from Station House 1.
I don't like this one bit.
What's the big deal? We're just doing our jobs.
Well, it seems like a fool's errand, Henry. There's a reason it's the world's oldest profession. What can we possibly accomplish? Besides, make life more difficult for people less fortunate than us.
At least we'll make some extra money.
Well, I'll catch up with you. I've got some information for the detective. Sir, I spoke to a witness who saw a woman fleeing the scene, but the timing doesn't seem to match up.
Oh?
Yes, well, she swears she saw this Francesca at 2:45 a.m.
10 minutes before, the clerk said he heard her running out the back door.
Right, but the witness works at a bakery where she arrived on time at 3 a.m. It's a 15-minute walk. She swears she didn't leave a minute after 2:45.
So either she or the clerk is mistaken. Or we're missing something. Let's have a look. Right. So she came out this door. This direction is a dead end, so she had to have come this way.
Sir, look at this.
Yes, that's the broken glass from the window above.
No, underneath it here.
Oh. The glass was very much on top of this.
So if this was Francesca's,
then she came through here before the window broke.
The baker saw her at 2:45?
And the clerk heard a fracas at 2:55.
Someone else was in the room with Langley.
Likely the killer. Very good, George.
You're telling me she's innocent?
Yes, the crime scene was staged. The killer, likely a man, placed the cord around the victim's neck.
Could you finish that later, please? To what end?
To make it appear as though the woman killed Langley and used something that was found in the room when, in reality, the killer likely brought the implement himself.
What was the killer's motive?
I have no idea, sir. Perhaps the killer saw the two of them go into the hotel and saw it as an opportunity to rob the man while he was in a vulnerable state.
And it's Francesca?
She likely fled the scene the moment the intruder appeared, and based on what she saw, isn't inclined to come forward.
All right. Fine work. But it hardly changes our intentions. Francesca saw the killer, ergo we must find her as quickly as possible. We'll keep the constables working on the bordellos.
Yes, on that matter, I assume it would be all right if I took one of them with me to assist me in my investigation.
Of course. Take your pick.
Mrs. Langley, your husband was found at the River Street Hotel. We believe he had been in the company of a woman.
He was a God-fearing man, Archie. He never would have been with a harlot.
Did he happen to say where he had been going all of these evenings?
No. Last week he had a message by courier, though. He's never had one of those.
What was the message?
I never saw it. I mean, he took it with him. But I kept the envelope. I was saving that.
What, the envelope?
Yes.
To use over again, you mean?
Of course.
There you are.
Thank you.
It looks like office.
So what's this? R-T-H-O-U-S-E? Rethouse? Rethuse?
Courthouse.
Possibly.
Templeton. I believe I know who wrote this note. George?
Constable Langley is dead. Dear God.
Found strangled to death in a seedy hotel on River Street.
Terrible thing. The young man had a family, too, as I recall.
It's my understanding that he met with you last week.
That's right. He was working on a case that his superiors had already closed. He suspected someone was trying to cover it up.
Who?
He wasn't sure. He said he was close to finding out, but felt that taking it to his inspector was not an option. He asked if he could bring his findings directly to me. I said yes, of course. Thank you.
What case?
He didn't tell me. He said he wanted to wait until the evidence was in place. I wish I could be of more help, gentlemen.
Thank you. He had been gathering evidence, so perhaps he had a file or notes of some sort.
Well, nothing was found at his house, nor in his desk at Station House 3.
He was hiding his investigation from his superiors. George, perhaps you should go to Station House number 3 and look in his desk yourself.
Sir, I will do. I was hoping to take a moment to meet with Effie, though.
Yes, of course. Having lunch?
We actually have a meeting at the bank. We're thinking about buying a house in the annex.
Oh, George, congratulations. That's terrific. Although, are you sure you want to live that far from the city?
Well, now we just have to see if we're approved.
It's an awfully big mortgage, Effie. Are you sure we're doing the right thing?
George, we both have good jobs and savings.
Maybe I'll start rounding up vagrants to make some extra dollars.
Vagrants?
Vagrants, gamblers, drunkards, women of the night. It's this new inspector. He has an eye to clean up Toronto.
And his solution is to arrest half the population?
It seems so.
Well, that won't last long. What's the Crown going to do with hundreds of petty cases to try? They can't keep up.
The cells are already full.
I'll make some calls. Perhaps I can act as surety to get some of them released. It's completely ridiculous. Are you having to participate in all this?
Well, thus far I've been too busy helping the detective. Speaking of which...
Thank you all for your excellent work thus far. Some of you will receive a pretty penny thanks to my little incentive. The time has come to expand our purview. Speakeasies, clubs, burlesques, gambling dens, deviancy in all its forms will find no safe harbor under our watch.
Sir, aren't nightclubs and burlesque perfectly legal?
They may have their permits, but that doesn't mean that goings-on in these institutions aren't in contravention of the law. Any institution built on sin is morally unacceptable. The laws reflect the morals of the people, and it is time to start enforcing them. Constable, where have you been?
At Station House 3, at the request of the detective.
Is that so? Because Constable Tucker here says he saw you socializing with a woman.
That was my wife. We had an appointment at the bank.
Is that something you normally do while at work?
No, sir. It was important. We're trying to purchase a house.
Congratulations. Listen, Crabtree, I'm a generous man by nature, but I won't be taken advantage of. You can make up the time at the end of your shift. Come on, lads. Got a job to do. You too, Higgins.
Good crowd tonight. Word is spreading. Jazz might just be the next big thing. Look who's here. I don't think I've ever seen this side of you.
What side?
I don't know what to call it. Happiness. Surely Mr. Buchanan has something to do with it. Hello, sir.
Hey, would you care to dance?
I usually don't consort with the customers.
Oh, I see.
I'll make an exception this time.
Okay.
to be soft with this lot, lads.
But it's just a nightclub. Can't we just bust it up and send them home?
Take it up with the inspector. That's it! Shut it down!
Come on.
Excuse me, what are you doing? Sir, you will see that we have all of our paperwork.
You're coming with us.
Let go of me. What are you doing? I did nothing wrong.
Tucker, take your hand off.
I will not.
I'm still the ranking officer here. Now!
Let's go, lad. That's it.
Miss Bright, I am terribly sorry for this, but I have to escort you down to the station house.
Now, come on.
Please.
Violet, let's go.
The dead woman Langley was investigating was strangled with a length of something, likely leather, 1 inch wide.
Identical to Langley, then.
Perhaps she got herself mixed up with a powerful man and threatened to expose him.
Murder to avoid scandal? It wouldn't be the first time.
These notes contain several abbreviations that make it very difficult to understand.
NBOW. Sir, I haven't the faintest.
There's also something here about Francesca.
The woman we're looking for.
He was meeting with her, perhaps to discuss this case.
Well, perhaps she was a witness or a friend of the victims. Sir, look at this. Talman's photograph studio with an address.
This appears to have been torn out of a diary. George, look at the date.
The same day Langley was killed.
Perhaps we should pay Mr. Talman a visit.
Cassie? Cassie?
Violet?
There you are.
I don't understand. We have our permits.
Well, apparently the new inspector is cracking down on undesirable establishments in town.
You ran.
I had no choice.
You could have tried to stand up to them. You're a powerful person, Violet.
It wouldn't have done any good.
Maybe so. You could have stood with the salon. With me.
And got arrested? To prove some kind of point?
Yes. To take a stand, sacrifice yourself, to make an example. That is how change is made.
That is not how the world works. At least this way I'm on the outside and I can help you get out of here.
Sorry to bother you. We have a few questions.
What's this about?
Did a Constable Archibald Langley come visit you recently?
Langley? Why, yes. He came in with a woman.
Oh. Who was this woman?
I didn't get her name.
Is this the woman you're talking about?
That's her. The two of them came asking after another woman named Olivia Wright.
Who's Olivia Wright?
A customer of mine. She developed photos a few weeks ago, but Constable Langley told me that she was dead. What a shame.
Oh. Did you know her well?
Only as a customer. Wait, you can't think I had anything to do with it. I would never, ever...
No, Mr. Talman, you are not under suspicion at this time.
Sir, do you think Olivia Wright could be our unidentified woman?
Well, George, her initials do correlate to the abbreviations found in Mr. Langley's files. Mr. Talman, do you recall what Miss Wright came into your store for?
Constable Langley asked me the same thing. She had photos developed. She came back here to pick them up, and apparently she was murdered that very day.
What were the photos of?
Just pictures of a man in bed, sleeping.
Who was the man?
I didn't recognize him.
Do you think you could recognize him out of a sequential lineup of men?
I doubt it. I didn't think it was very important.
Thank you, Mr. Talman. Langley's file made note that there were ashes found in a waste paper basket at the scene of the murder.
The photos she picked up?
Perhaps. Perhaps the killer burned them to get rid of them because he was the man in the photographs.
they were having a liaison.
And they were her proof.
But she was killed before she could tell anybody.
We need to find out all we can about this Olivia Wright. And while we're at it, we need to find Francesca.
I know that name. Olivia was an old friend of Archibald's.
How did they know each other?
He used to work with her before he became a constable. They were both servants for a wealthy man.
Who?
I don't know.
Do you know anyone who might know?
That was all before Archie and I met. I'm sorry, Detective.
Mighty fine job you have done, Edwards.
Thank you, sir.
Toronto already feels far safer than it did before.
Good day, Constable Crabtree.
Inspector?
I'm so glad that you feel
Sir,
that way, and
I've been asking around about Olivia Wright. I can't find any record of her anywhere.
No matter. I've just found something very interesting in Constable Langley's notes. George, we now know that OW stands for Olivia Wright. And that makes some of these other entries far more clear. For example, I believe Francesca also worked as a servant in the same household as Olivia Wright.
So they did know each other.
Which would explain why Francesca was valuable to Constable Langley's investigation.
She would have had information about anything happening to Miss Wright in that household.
Exactly. Now there's just this other one that he keeps referring to, BOC.
More initials?
BOC, possibly. A person.
Place?
Board of Control.
Sir, brilliant. And next to BOC is MB. Somebody with the initials MB at the Board of Control.
George, Melvin Banks is on the Board of Control. Constable Langley once asked you to bypass his superiors. I have you here to ask for the same thing, for the same reasons. And I hope your promise to help still stands.
Of course. What have you found out?
I believe the killer to be Melvin Banks.
My father-in-law.
I understand this must be very upsetting given that he's family.
Family in a sense of the word, but there is no love lost between us. I have always disagreed with his methods. If he really is a killer, then justice comes first. Are you sure he's guilty?
The case is lacking in physical evidence, but yes.
What do you need from me?
I intend to interview Banks and ask him if he has an alibi for the night in question. And if he doesn't, I'll arrest him. Obviously, I'll need to go over Edward's head.
We've had our differences in the past, but you're a good detective. If you say the case is strong, I'll back you up.
Crabtree, job for you. We've just received an anonymous tip. There's to be an illegal gathering at a home in Rosedale.
What kind of gathering?
You'll see. Find Higgins and a few others.
Sir.
Arrest all in attendance.
Yes, I asked the inspector at Station House 3 to shut down that investigation.
Because you were the one who murdered Olivia Wright. To cover up the liaison you were having with her.
Oh, of course not. I had no affair with her, and I certainly didn't kill her.
Then why order the case closed?
Because I didn't want any of this nasty business associated with my good name. Can you imagine what the press would have said? One of my servants engaging in sex for money on her day off?
Did you not think the young woman deserved justice?
I assumed it was some seedy criminal who had long absconded. Exposing the details would have only put the poor girl's family through more pain.
So you told them what? She left town?
It was kinder than telling them the truth. I gave them money. It was better for everyone.
And Francesca?
My maid? What about her?
She had been working with Constable Langley to find out what happened to Olivia Wright.
Well, I don't know anything about that. She hasn't been at work the past few days, but I've no idea where she's disappeared to. And I hadn't even heard of Archibald Langley until he turned up dead. I swear.
Where were you Tuesday at 3 a.m.?
At home in bed.
With?
No one. My wife's in Montreal for the month.
And November 21st?
I haven't any idea. What's November 21st?
The night that Olivia Wright was murdered.
You're going to arrest me, Detective? Go ahead.
As you wish.
I can't believe you left New York for Toronto the Good.
It wasn't entirely my decision.
Surely you miss it. Don't you want to go back?
I'm at home here. We've been to many places and lived many lives, but when we're searching within, it's rare the answer lies without.
Police!
Gentlemen, we have orders to take you down to the station house. It will go easier if you comply in an orderly fashion. Sir! Hey, stop, lads! What?
Look who we have here. Take him in.
Run.
What?
Just make a run for it.
No, I won't run from this. My friends are getting arrested. So am I.
Detective Murdoch, can you tell me why I have a member of the Board of Control in my cells?
I've arrested him for the murders of Olivia Wright and Archibald Langley.
And why didn't I know anything about this?
You seemed more preoccupied with your raids. Besides, the Crown Attorney has already agreed to take the case.
You went over my head.
I felt it was necessary.
Do you respect me, Detective Murdoch?
I don't see how that's at all relevant to the matter at hand.
Do you trust my judgment? Did you think that if you came to me about this, I would have shut the case down?
That's precisely what I thought. You've proven time and again that your priorities are askew. You are more interested in arresting the destitute than you are murderers.
Yeah, you wait just a second.
Sir, there's news from the morgue.
We'll continue this later, Detective.
Appears to be her.
The killer got to her first.
She's been dead 24 hours. Killed by a stabbing, not strangulation, like Olivia Wright and Constable Langley.
Men say she was found in an alley behind a social club for servants.
She must have been hiding from the police.
So it's your contention that Banks found her and killed her to keep her quiet?
I'm not so sure. If Miss Hart's timeline is correct and Francesca died 24 hours ago, then Mr. Banks had an alibi for the time of the murder.
Oh, he still could have done the other two, I suppose. Or murder could be unrelated. But why would someone else want to kill Francesca?
Perhaps Banks sent someone else to kill her.
In which case, someone knows the truth. Not a good way to tie up loose ends.
No.
Sir? Sirs. We found the room at the social club where Francesca was hiding. There was a note. I thought you might want to take a look at it.
Langley, meet me at River Street Hotel. Info about Olivia, rent room 13, 2:30 a.m. Come alone. Perhaps Francesca wrote this herself.
We found some other examples of her handwriting. It's not a match.
Someone else, then. Presumably, Langley knew who it was from.
And that person turned out to be the actual killer, luring Langley to his death.
Francesca arrives moments later, but the killer's not expecting her. She manages to flee.
So, the question is clear. Was it Banks?
Inspector Edwards, may I have a word?
What is it?
I think we should let Detective Watts go. He's done nothing wrong, and he's a friend of this station house.
Watts has been arrested? What for?
He was found attending an illegal gathering that was in clear contravention of the law.
Oh, there must be some mistake. What evidence do you have that the gathering was illegal?
I know Llewellyn Watts. We have a history. His very presence there confirms precisely what we suspected regarding the gathering.
Now, Watts is a good man.
He is a sodomite who deserves to be jailed. Just like Mr. Banks, Mr. Watts cannot escape punishment just because he has friends in high places.
Sir, there must be something we can...
Henry. Apparently the inspector thinks he knows best.
See? That note does not match my handwriting at all. I'm telling you I'm innocent.
Then tell me this. How is it that you knew that the unidentified woman referred to in Constable Langley's case file was Olivia Wright?
And how did you know Station House 3 had the case in the first place?
The case came across my son-in-law's desk, he told me.
Alan Templeton?
Yes.
The handwriting on the envelope matches the handwriting on the note. Alan Templeton is our killer. Mr. Templeton, you wear leather suspenders, don't you? No need to answer that. We've already confirmed that you do, and that they are precisely 1 inch in width. They are a perfect match for the wounds that were found on Constable Langley's neck, as well as Olivia Wright's.
What would compel you to do this?
I'll await my lawyer.
If you like. But the evidence we have against you is more than enough. Your colleagues at the Crown are not exactly shy about taking the case against you.
Your cooperation could spare your life, as you well know.
I met Olivia through my father-in-law. I was a frequent visitor in his home.
Miss Wright caught your eye, didn't she?
It's a bit of fun. But then she wanted more of me.
She threatened to expose you, ruin your marriage, your career, so you had to kill her.
I would have lost everything. I had to make sure that she would never tell. And I convinced Melvin to use his influence to stop any investigation. Told him that his good name would suffer because she was his servant. He had no idea what I had done.
But Constable Langley wouldn't stop the search, would he? You had to kill him as well.
I had to stop him.
And we had to stop you.
Mr. Templeton,
you are under arrest.
Come on, clear out! The lot of you.
Take this as a warning. If you've received no charge, consider it a mercy. I don't want to see hide nor hair of any of you in this city ever again. Because the next time, I won't be so forgiving.
This is our home. Where are we supposed to go?
Quite frankly, I don't care. As long as it's not in Toronto.
Inspector Edwards, all this began with the Langley case. Now, we know his killer was not a prostitute, but rather one of the city's elite. All this, the sweeps have to stop.
Certainly not. I have a vision of a clean Toronto, and I will shake every shadow until all of the deviants in this city are gone.
What, sir?
Stop whining and do your job.
It's over, Watts. You're free to go.
No, this is far from over.
At least you won't be in jail.
I'm not leaving Toronto, George.
But it's just for... This is all going to blow over eventually.
I'm not going anywhere. They can charge me if they want.
Watts.
I want my day in court. I want a jury to decide to tell me once and for all if who I am makes me a criminal.
took some doing, but the loan is approved. The house is ours.
As long as we keep our jobs.
Is everything all right?
Yes, no, that's wonderful news, Effie.
Well, I heard Edwards released the detainees. Hopefully the sweeps will be over soon and things can go back to normal.
I'm sure they will.
Higgins, you keep your nose clean.
You too, sir.
You almost missed us. We're about to board.
Sir, are you sure about this?
You take care of this young lady, Bugalugs. You found a good in there.
Indeed, I will, sir.
And good luck with the new inspector. I'm sure you'll be all right.
Well, I'm not so sure about that, but thank you.
Maybe we'll come and visit you. We've been talking about doing some traveling.
That would be lovely.
I can hardly imagine a Toronto without you, sir.
I'm not your boss anymore, Murdoch. Call me Tom.
We'll miss you, Tom.
As we you, William. Doesn't sound right, does it?
Absolutely not. Safe travels, sir.
Thank you, Milmucker. We'll send a postcard. Well, no use standing on ceremony. Till the next time.
Indeed.
Margaret?
Wow, we're entering a new world, William.
And I'm not sure I think much of it.
I have to tell you, Detective, regardless of your success in this case, I'm still not happy that you went over my head. This is my station house. I'm your boss, and as such, I demand your respect.
Respect is earned, not demanded.
I need you to fall in line, like the rest of the men. In fact, why don't you start with that speakeasy down by the docks? Take a few constables and shut the place down.
I will not.
Pardon me?
This is as good a time as any, I suppose. Though I have been preoccupied with my case, it hasn't stopped me from noticing the disgraceful way that you have been running things here.
Are you telling me how to do my job?
No, I doubt that that would do much good.
Get out of my office!
I intend to.
What do you mean?
Consider this my resignation. I'm no longer Detective Murdoch of Station House number 4.